What's up, y'all? Back here to demo yet another little micro tube amp from Joyo Audio. This one is going to be the Vivo, which is based on the Peavey 5150 62505 flavor of like gain and distortion. Now, this is not one of the XL series Bantamps, and so there's not two independently adjustable preamp sections on it. There's just one, but there are technically two channels. There's a clean channel and a distorted channel. So what this means is that there's just a few less options on here, but in my opinion, it doesn't really matter so much unless you're somebody who needs to be able to switch between the different channels on this live, in which case, yeah, you're going to want one of the other XL style amps from them because of the fact that you can use the foot switch that comes with them to switch between a clean channel and the distorted channel. So that's really the only drawback of this one in my opinion. Just want to give a big shout out to Joyo Audio because they've been consistently supporting this channel by sending me gear to review for all of you for you guys to check out. I really love checking out this budget gear and I appreciate Joyo sending this out to me even though they did not ask me to create this video, nor will they even see this video before it goes live. So all thoughts and opinions are my own even though I did not pay for that little amp. Now just like in the last demo, which I'll link up above and down in the description below, I'm going to show off the clean channel first, and then we're going to jump into the distorted channel. We're going to hear it without any pedals at all, and then I am going to use an overdrive in front of it as well, which is the opaque drive from Substation Onyx. And as always, I'm using my GOC Guitars Illumina Plus with the Aurora Tone Earth Crusher rail style pickups inside of it, and there's nothing else going on in the signal chain, except I am using an impulse response from King Studios. It's called the King's Cab because I'm not running this through a mic'd up cab. I don't have the room for that. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to listen to first the clean channel, and we're going to do that very briefly because again, nobody buys a 5150 for its clean channel either, but I will say these are very usable clean channels on these things. So let's listen. So as you can see, very usable clean channel. This would take pedals really well in my opinion because it's very clean. There's not a lot going on, and since it is a 20 watt amp, it does have a little bit of headroom. So you could put a compressor in front of this. You could probably drive this signal a little bit. Let's just click on an overdrive and see how the clean channel reacts. Alright, so it definitely takes an overdrive pedal on the clean channel without clipping too badly, and it sounds great, honestly. That's not my kind of tone, but I know there's other drive pedals out there that would drive this a little bit differently. The pedal that I'm using and the settings that I have set are mostly for modern metal. So, alright, so let's turn off the drive pedal. So drive pedal off, and let's go ahead and switch it over to the overdrive channel. So this is the stock distorted channel, no other pedals or anything like that on the Vivo. Let's go ahead and check it out. And as you see, the gain's down pretty low, so let's go ahead and crank that to halfway. I don't have a noise gate on yet. I'll probably pop one on. I'm sure you can hear the hissing already. So as you heard, gain for days. I don't think it completely sounds like a 5150 or a 6505, because as you heard, as I was sweeping the tone knob, there's not really any way to clean up that signal like I would on a 5150 by upping the presence and the highs and the mids and bringing down the lows. And as you heard when I was sweeping that tone knob, as I get closer to the low end of that tone knob, you do hear it rolling off the high end almost completely, and it sounds like it was pulling the mids a little bit as well. And even when I had that tone knob dimed, it wasn't really adding much presence. But we're gonna turn on an overdrive pedal now and see what we can get out of it. So here's what we're starting with. Overdrive pedal is going to be clicked on. I have the settings set to basic, metal settings on an overdrive pedal. I have the level all the way up. I have the tone almost all the way up and the gain down. And I'm going to turn on a noise gate now, just because we need it. Let's go ahead and take a listen now with the overdrive. All right, so instantly the overdrive, did what I needed it to do. So let's go ahead and mess with the tone knob while I play here. It's funny, the tone knob responds more with the overdrive plugged in than it did without the overdrive on at all. Because as I'm sweeping that, I'm actually hearing more differences happen. All right, so let's go ahead and mess with the overdrive pedal a little bit. I'm gonna crank the tone knob all the way up as well. All right, so that's what it sounds like with an overdrive. The level and the tone are both dimed on there. What I'm going to do now though is I'm going to bring the level down and I'm going to add some gain from the overdrive pedal itself. So we're going to do a little over halfway for the level now, and I'm going to put the gain up just a tad, like a quarter of a turn. Instantly more squishy, but a lot more saturation there. And you see the gain is set pretty low on the amp itself. So there's a lot of gain on tap here, but I think with an overdrive pedal is where it really is going to shine. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in my last video about the Zombie 2, but I don't feel like these little micro amps are meant to be used just on their own. I feel like these are a great pedal platform or something to put on your pedal board itself. So in my opinion, each of them needs something to come before it. And then in the case of clean tones, for instance, you want something coming after it as well, as far as delay, chorus, and reverb and things of that sort. So I don't think that these are a be-all end-all amp, especially for the price. Each of these are under 150 bucks or so. So they're actually pretty affordable. And I think that in my perfect use case, I would always be pairing this with pedals. Now let's go ahead and take this a step further, and I want to simulate this being used with an EQ pedal as well. So I'm just going to have the stock EQ open up in Logic, which you should see on the screen now. And what I've got going on here are my basic settings that I use on just about everything. So I've got a high pass filter set to about 83 Hertz, and then I've got a low pass filter set at 11,000. And then we have a high shelf at 5,000 Hertz. And I know a lot of people tell me all the time that that's a little bit too aggressive, but I like the way that that sounds, especially with Logic stock EQ. Every EQ pedal in plugin is going to work a little bit different. I just like how this one sounds with the bump at 5,000. It's a shelf instead of a bell curve. And then we do also have bumps at 2,500, 1240, and then I have a little bit of subtraction happening at 138. And let's go ahead and do an A-B. and then we're gonna go ahead and turn on the EQ. So as you can see, this little amp packs a punch. It's 20 watts of solid state power with a tube preamp. It does have an effects loop inside of it. It does have Bluetooth, so you can pair your phone and jam along to songs and even just plug in headphones and everything. And is it the perfect 5150 recreation? No, but it does have its own little flavor there. Obviously, as I've already said, I recommend using it with different pedals. I think an EQ pedal would be perfect for this, either before or before and after, depending on your pedal board setup. But I think an overdrive is completely necessary, and Joyo makes some fantastic overdrives. But what do you think? Do you think that this little amp is worth its weight? I mean, it's really not that expensive, and it's kind of hard to get a tube preamp for this price, let alone one that has its own power section built in. And again, remember that power section is solid state, which in my opinion sounds great still. It's definitely doing the thing. I know you can't really tell that because I don't have it plugged into a cab with mics and everything. It is going through an impulse response, but in the room it does sound pretty sick through a cab.